His name was Simo Häyhä, though among those who feared him, he was known as the White Death. This is the tale of his extraordinary journey. Simo Häyhä, known later as the deadliest sniper in military history, was a quiet and unassuming country boy. You'd be forgiven for expecting that such a legendary figure must have had an extraordinary upbringing. Yet Simo's childhood was remarkably ordinary, which is precisely what makes his story so compelling. Born on December 17, 1905, in the small farming hamlet of Kiskinen in the Viipuri province of southern Finland, Simo grew up in a simple farming community. One of 8 children, he was a small, shy boy who found happiness in helping his parents, Katrina and Juho, with work on the family farm. When he wasn't attending school in the nearby village of Miettilä or attending services at his family's Lutheran church, young Simo spent his days outdoors, hunting and skiing. These pastimes built his strength and dexterity, while also familiarizing him with the dense forests and challenging terrain of the Finnish wilderness. It was here that Simo first learned the survival skills and sharpshooting abilities that would later make him an unparalleled sniper. Though naturally reserved, Simo began to come out of his shell while competing in local shooting contests held at the Finnish Civil Guard's shooting range, just 5 kilometers from his home. His skill earned him recognition, and he joined the Civil Guard, a voluntary militia, at the age of 17. His house quickly became filled with trophies from marksmanship competitions, a testament to his growing reputation. Little did he know that the tranquil countryside where he spent his youth would one day become a battlefield drenched in blood, where he would make his name. Soon after his 19th birthday in 1925, Simo Häyhä began his 15-month mandatory military service. Assigned to Bicycle Battalion 2 in the town of Raivala, now part of Russia, Simo received basic military training. This included tactics unique to the Finnish army, how to fight, survive, and move unseen in snow-covered forests, over mountains, and through other challenging terrain. It was during this time that Simo first caught the attention of Major Tapio Saarelainen, who would later become his biographer. The major was impressed by Simo's extraordinary abilities. He could estimate distances of up to 150 meters with incredible accuracy, within 1 meter. During a firing exercise, Simo amazed everyone by hitting a target 150 meters away 16 times in under a minute using a bolt-action rifle with a 5-round fixed magazine. Such feats were almost unbelievable for a new recruit. By the end of his military service, perhaps his most significant takeaway wasn't his rank, but a weapon, the M/28-30 Mosin Nagant rifle he had trained with. Simo purchased the rifle after completing his service and returned to farm life. 14 years later, that same rifle would strike terror into the hearts of the Red Army. The 30th of November, 1939. The Winter War, 100 days of snow and sorrow. What ensued was a single winter of fighting between the Red Army and Finland's conscripts. Stalin, despite the private reservations of many of his top generals, believed so strongly that he would be able to destroy Finland completely that he even had his officers issue commands to soldiers to be careful not to go too far and cross over into Sweden. Much to Uncle Joe's surprise, however, the Red Army would barely make it over the Finnish border. The winter was also the coldest in Finnish history. The terrain was challenging, to say the least. Finland also had one last trick up its sleeve, a trick by the name of Simo Häyhä. As a reservist, when war broke out in November 1939, he was called to active duty. Within just the first 22 days of the conflict, the now 34-year-old sharpshooter had clocked 138 confirmed kills. Häyhä would achieve his highest daily count of the war, taking the lives of 25 Red Army soldiers in the time it took for the winter sun to rise and fall. Simo was so deadly, so accurate, and so stealthy that he almost immediately earned himself a distinct nickname. To the Soviet invaders, Simo Häyhä was not just another Finnish soldier. He became a ghost in the snow, an invisible force of death. His enemies didn't see him, but they felt his presence in the chilling silence of the Winter War. Every time a soldier fell, they knew it wasn't luck. It was him. Dressed in pure white, blending into the frost-covered forests, he became more than a man. He became legend. And so, in whispered fear, they gave him a name. the White Death. Simo approached sniping the same way he had approached hunting moose and deer as a boy. He would spend hours scouting for the very best sniping positions, where the enemy would be unlikely to see him, but where he'd still have an optimal field of fire. Next, he'd get up long before sunrise and hike to his chosen position. Simo would prepare the spot by building snowbanks up around him for additional cover. He'd compress the snow beneath his rifle barrel or pour water on it so that it would freeze, and this way made sure that his position wouldn't be given away by puffs of snow caused by his muzzle blast. He'd even place a pair of gloves between his weapon and the ground so as to dampen its recoil. Simo did a few other unusual things as well. Whilst most snipers shoot from a prone position to minimize the target area of their bodies, Simo chose instead to shoot whilst crouching because he said it improved his aim. He'd hold snow in his mouth whilst on a mission so that his breath didn't condensate on the air. Without a doubt, the most iconic characteristic of the White Death's fearsome battle tactics, however, was the weapon he chose to use. Do you remember that old rifle he bought after his national service? Well, ever since 1925, Simo had been taking good care of that M2-830 Mosin Nagant. He'd use it when he went hunting, getting to know the way it worked, how to maintain it, and how to ensure it wouldn't jam, even in the depths of Finnish winter. And when he was called up to war in 1939, he brought it with him. Simo rejected the much newer Soviet M9130PE, which the Finnish army issued its snipers. He even rejected the use of a scope. Instead, he stuck to what he knew, his 14-year-old rifle with its basic iron sight. He observed that telescopic sights sometimes clouded in the winter and would flash in the sun, giving away the positions of enemy marksmen who he himself had killed. Instead, he aimed for his enemies' chests, not their heads, down the simple sights of his ancient weapon. It was using this peculiar style of sniping that Simo Häyhä, the White Death, killed more people with a sniper rifle than any other soldier has in history. The Red Army was driven to near insanity by the godlike punishment wrought upon them by the man they knew as the White Death. As the war dragged on, and it became apparent that their losses would soon outweigh the few miles of land they had won, they began to throw everything they had at the last known positions of deadly sniper Simo. They bombed him with artillery, brought in whole teams of snipers to counter his fire. During the Battle of Kala, a single division of the Finnish army, supported by Simo and 10 other snipers, even went up against 4 Red Army divisions and a tank brigade. Yet still they won, and Simo emerged alive. Still, no one's luck can hold out forever. On the 6th of March 1940, just 1 week before the end of the war, a Red Army soldier got lucky. Simo was hit in the face by an explosive bullet. The bullet, capped with an incendiary mix, tore through the expert marksman's left cheek, removing both his upper and lower jaw. When he was found in the aftermath of the battle, Simo was presumed dead and tossed atop the rising stack of Finnish bodies. When Simo was pulled out, half his face was missing. He was in a coma, but he was still alive. Most accurate records suggest that, by the time the war was over in March 1940, Simo had a confirmed 259 sniper rifle kills and another 283 by submachine gun, bringing his total number of confirmed kills to 542. Simo regained consciousness on the 13th of March 1940, the day that peace was declared in Finland. He awoke to the news that he was in fact dead. At least this was the rumor that had spread across the country, that the White Death, scourge of the Soviets, the harbinger of death, had died in battle. As soon as Simo was well enough to put pen to paper, he wrote his local newspaper to correct the mistake. It took 14 months and 26 reconstructive surgeries before Simo would fully recover from his wounds. He was left permanently disfigured as a result, but still ready and willing to fight against the Russians when, in 1941, the continuation war began. His country, however, decided that he had had enough. The Finnish government awarded Simo the first and second class medals of liberty and a farm in Valokijärvi, near Finland's southeastern border with Russia. Simo once again took up moose hunting. He also dabbled in dog breeding until it became too difficult for him in old age. Unfortunately, in the aftermath of World War II, understandable backlash against the excess of violence meant that Simo began receiving hate mail and sometimes death threats. His injuries made him instantly recognizable, and so he stopped going into town. He became fairly reclusive and never married, though thankfully he did maintain a circle of friends and remain close to his family. Around the time that the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, an elderly Simo, who had in his lifetime watched the Bolsheviks rise and fall, moved into an apartment in the town of Rukolati. Later, he moved to a war veterans nursing home in Hamina. It was there at 95 that the White Death gave his final interview. When asked how he had been so successful in his duty as sniper, Simo Häyhä replied with one word: practice. Simo died in 2002 at the age of 96. Do you think there ever was a better sniper than Simo? Let me know in the comments below.